Morning, friends. I'm Eric here with a news story that I think is really important considering what's going on today, and that is Gaddafi is not dead. This is from mathba.net. Link is down below. Gaddafi not dead. People have been so worried as to whether the leader of the world revolution, Muammar Qaddafi of Libya, is dead or alive. Let us examine this question, reach some definitive positions based upon the third universal theory which Muammar Qaddafi championed. First, let's consider why it matters, or does not matter. To the terrorists attacking Africa's Libya, NATO, the mercenaries, and the Islamist rats, it matters, because that has been their key number one objective, from which all else follows. For them, Gaddafi equals Libya equals Jamaria. NATO, the American-European military alliance, has dug itself into the corner from day one, because their first aim was to kill Gaddafi, and the reasons for them wanting to do so have been explained in countless other analysis articles here on mathba.net. From the start of the NATO bombing, which they thought would take 2 to 3 days to achieve its objective of killing Gaddafi, later revised to 2 or 3 weeks, then to 2 or 3 months, and then indefinitely. Moscow stated that NATO would not be able to do so. On the very day of their biggest ever failure, when they went in an all-out, massive, desperate bombing of Gaddafi's home, which he still would not run away from, in order for the Rome meeting of Clinton to be able to declare a victory. It backfired when he went out to feed the animals, and instead, his 3 grandchildren and youngest son died along with many others. That damaging news was immediately squashed by the sudden release within a few hours of the death of bin Laden, so as to deflect world media away from sympathy for Gaddafi and his family, and toward the power that might of that of the United States. Only problem is, on the web, people quickly find out that this was not bin Laden who was dumped at sea, let alone the problem that he had died many years earlier. But that did not matter, because 99% of the Tell Live Vision viewers believed it, just as they did when Obama's White House came up with his forged birth certificate, which later proved as evidenced by traces left in the history of the file uploaded to the White House website to be a fake, because it had been edited, not only scanned. Understand that the international media, meaning this crowd, always get their way, because most people get their news and influence from there. They report and lie ad infinitum, such as Libya did Lockerbie lie, but when the opposite is proven to be the case, witnesses admitted to being paid $4 million each and recanted their evidence, that new news is either not reported or reported only in passing on some small inner pages or paragraph. Now we have the reasons and timing for Gaddafi's death. Before we address whether he is actually dead or not, and why he is dead, and he is not dead. Reasons include that a recent internal NATO and CIA review of the war on Libya revealed it to be a mess of a pathetic failure. Not only had Gaddafi continued to survive, but he was getting more famous by the day. And with that, the danger of his ideas and example being discovered. More on that in a while. Further, the objectives to control Libya, its oil and water, and to separate it from the rest of Africa also failed abysmally. even though they cut off all Libyan broadcasting stations, both TV and internet, by bombing, denial of service attacks, hacking, and threats. Green resistance continued, especially in central Libya. This, in spite of the non-stop bombing, missile and terrorist attacks, and total blockade and siege, and then destruction of democratic Jamahiriya cities where the population were holding out and where the rebels could not enter. Mass starvation and total destruction ensued, bombing of hospitals and over 60,000 dead. Yet still, these civilians in these towns, armed to defend themselves, did not give in to NATO bombs and terrorist rockets and assassinations. Then NATO, in desperation, started using banned weapons, mini nukes, chemicals, and poor man's fuel bombs, resulting in further large-scale massacres in the past week. The world media was about to be unable to ignore this any further, although they had been silent during the months of atrocities and blockades. With photos now emerging in recent days showing a town utterly destroyed with bodies littering the streets, and urgent distraction was again needed. With infighting in recent weeks between the rebels, monarchists, kleptomaniacs, criminals, Al-Qaeda, and mercenary groups, all initially united only in their hatred for Gaddafi, now falling apart in an open confrontation with mass resignations from among their ranks and leadership. Something needed to be done. With NATO pilots, drone operators realizing that there is indeed a very real danger of them having to face justice for war crimes and crimes against humanity, and with pilot fatigue and dissatisfaction creeping in after 8 months of non-stop aerial bombing, the truth has become known to them, and they are not here to protect civilians, but instead to bomb them. Something had to be done. Hillary Clinton needed to visit Tripoli to rally the troops and provide a brave face for the Europeans who were increasingly worried about being on the forefront of a war that they had started to realize they cannot win, and which will ultimately backfire for many reasons already covered here on mahatma.net and elsewhere. So the big white lady descended on Libya for a few hours and spoke, calling for the capture and or death of Muammar Qaddafi, knowing that, as with bin Laden, the video and images were already prepared. Lo and behold, presto, a day later, Gaddafi was both captured and killed. Yes, he is now dead for the world media, and the incredible and deliberately shaky videos prove it, as do the doctored still images. No one, especially not Obama, needs to declare Gaddafi dead, for the rebel TNC so-called Transitional National Council, or what is left of it, less than a dozen people, said it is so, and Jazeera and Al Arabiya, as well as Press TV and Russia Today, echoed the news as fact. I kind of find that disturbing. Problem is, he is also not dead. Not only because he was not captured and not killed, as reported elsewhere here from reliable sources, but because he already lives in the hearts of millions. And this now brings us to the next point, as to in which ways Gaddafi is dead or alive, and whether and how much it matters. Gaddafi is alive. It matters because NATO has thus not won the war, and not even won their first easy objective. It matters because some people need a leader and won't operate without a leader. The large numbers of volunteers converging on Libya from around Africa are not all going there for reasons of defending Libya, Libyans, or even Africa, but because of their love, appreciation, and solidarity for Gaddafi, and wanting to help him as the brother leader. Yet even though Gaddafi did not die, and most people still have not woken up to this fact that we live in a digital world where all images, videos, and sound can easily be forged, not only easily available commercial images and sound manipulation software, but by military-grade programs and supercomputers. People have not woken up to the fact the very mainstream media they have come to rely on, as well as their political leaders, have less education, less common sense, and less experience than one would expect, and thus are also easily misled. But one day Gaddafi will die, and in that sense he is already dead, as the rest of us are too. However, he has lived to see his philosophy actually put into practice, something very few philosophers in the world have ever had the privilege, sadly. Sadly, he has also lived to see it destroyed, but not quite. What has been destroyed in Libya, but not in the Jamahiriya, not the values, ideals, and democratic, economic, and social relationships that have proven to be so strong as to withstand the world's most powerful and brutal military forces for almost a year and still hold out. And this has resulted in a great opportunity, as we shall see. The entire world faces a crossroads over the coming year. We remember the New Year message from Mahatma on 28th of January 2011, saying that this would be the most important year ever. As we start 2011, this is going to be the most important year for future life on this planet. It is essential to stay informed and share what you know with others. Mahatma, as the world's leading independent news agency, is playing an important part in giving people the tools of making the world a better place. That crossroads has now a chance of taking the right turn, because the very key solutions to those problems facing the world were being ignored, and the Mahatma was a lone voice in the wilderness talking about the third universal theory. Now, however, thanks to the war on Libya and the attacks on Gaddafi, people the world over are asking, what is it that is going on? It is clear to all that it is not about protecting civilians, and has led to millions reading the Green Book. It makes me want to read it. Further, hardly anyone outside Libya knew anything about Jamahiriya, about how all power, wealth, and arms were in the hands of the people in Libya, or that Gaddafi had handed power to the people in 1979, 2 years after the creation of Jamahiriya and the introduction of direct participation democracy. This and the amazing economic benefits that resulted from it are the reason that even during NATO bombing, he could not go around Tripoli in an open-air car and no one would shoot at him without any real security. As shown in this video shot during April this year, 1 month into the bombing of his home. Other truths started to surface and resulted in millions of people worldwide posting videos, articles, and comments on social media. Truths such as these now, what is to be done? Actually, he has been trying to tell everyone who has been listening these past few months a few key points, and yet from what we see is not getting through to everyone, even those who are his fans around the world, in which we summarize here below. I am not the Libyan resistance. The Libyan resistance is the people. They will continue to fight until NATO and all others against them leave Libya. They will lay down their lives to defend their freedom, as will many of my own family. I live in their hearts and in the hearts of millions. I am not the government of Libya. I do not hold any official government positions. I am a revolutionary. I am outside of power. Power rests with the Libyan people. I have spoken my words so many times until I grew tired. It is all there in the pages of the Green Book. Please read it and you will understand. I have completed my work. I gave my power, wealth, and arms to the people who possessed it. I am just one man among millions in Libya. I brought to light the third universal theory. It is as if mankind had become locked in a cave without sunlight and forgotten what sunlight looked like. I found the rusty keys on the floor and put them in the lock. Thus, all that is needed is to turn the key to come out into the sunlight again. The Green Book is a collection of truths, showing the way for solving the problems of power via democracy, wealth via socialism, and the social basis of the third universal theory. As the farmer, I did not create the fruits, but picked them from the tree and placed them into a basket. The Green Book. The above are an English language paraphrasing of some of the things he has said. During the current conflict, he also gave clear advice. 1. I will never give up on Libya. I will fight to the end. I will not run nor leave my homeland. NATO will have to leave. They can never occupy Libya. They will never live in peace, stealing our wealth. The rebels will not last one day without NATO. So they should make peace now while they still have a chance. Do not trust the media. They will say I have said this or that I have died, or that I'm here or there. They lie, are easily manipulated, so I do not trust them. No orders are needed. Come out into the streets. Clean the country from the rats until the green flag of freedom is flying everywhere again. So why does anyone need to hear from him yet again? What difference does it make if he is alive in freedom or dies in freedom? Either way is victory. Either way is a motivation to those who love him. If he is alive, they are motivated. If he is martyred, they are motivated. Why are people avoiding getting on with the real work at hand, which is to, among other things, study the Green Book and put into practice, forming green charter committees everywhere and calling for people's conferences? Organize and mobilize, hold rallies with green flags, videos, protests, posters, t-shirts, and even travel to Africa to defend the Jamahiriya. Get out there and spread the truth. Call others. Wake them up. Show them the evidence. Recruit more members to the movement. Report your actions. Submit rally, meeting, protest, and other reports and statements via pubmathba.net. Network with others using open source tools such as mahathba.info. The Green Charter Movement will soon be launching a wiki in addition on its website, which will explain many of the concepts, definitions, and structures of the movement. Remember, even though the leader is at one time of this writing still very much alive in more ways than one, he does not need to speak. All has already been spoken and written. It is now up to us all to hear those calls and put them into practice. And then in the future, if the time is right and we have finally done something along the way of building a universal Jamahiriya, he may choose to address us again. For now, let the enemies of freedom remain confused and fearful, while we move forward among the strong and continue the green march to people's power as a solution to the problems of corruption, exploitation, oppression, war, need, and greed. Some of the following tasks are still very much outstanding, and all should now become involved in the work. registering sufficient members of people at the peoplesconference.org/reg so that the People's Conference can be formed in various areas. The IPCO will contact everyone when the time is right, and there's something to report. A publication called the World Conference is planned. Adopting the Greek Charter for the interim and spreading www.greencharter.com so that the Green Charter movement will grow worldwide and show the way forward to people's power, Jamahiriya everywhere. Make sure that all those who have committed crimes are held to account. See peoplesconference.org/CAH, and assisting with the creation of a world crime database at worldcrimes.org, as well as entering of data into it, and the organizations of people's conferences on crimes against humanity to be held in 8 locations around the world by March 2012. Collecting funds for all the above to assist with expenses, publicity, donate via the website peoplesconference.org, as well as mathba.net/donate.htm. Forming international solidarity committees around the world to coordinate an effective mass migration towards whatever location is decided, time and place, to put an end to the war and rebuild the Jamahiriya, or otherwise to create a new Jamahiriya, with this formation to be coordinated by the IPCO. Join the mailing list and any other means in staying informed, such as mathba.net support and mathba.net go/daily. Costing and production of t-shirts, posters, green flags, green books. Green Charter International has ISBN copy and copyrights and printers. Funds are needed to print. Building of alternative and independent communication networks which will continue to function without electrical grid, internet, or phones. Mathba.com is to be launched as a central point linking the various official sites and tools for the interim. Mathba.net's support, websites, and blogs do not link to this print page. The original article is down here. I just think that Mr. Gaddafi, being a leader and being corrupted by power, has no doubt killed innocent people. But when a man under the gun can go in an open car in his capital and the people adore him, I cannot think that he is as brutal as the main media make us think. And when you consider the great achievements that Gaddafi has obtained in the last 40 years, I don't think it's possible to say that the man was terrible, any more terrible than any U.S. president, because all U.S. presidents have blood on their hands, yet, and are despot tyrants, yet they're not vilified in the press for it. And I think that we need to get away from listening to the media and their knee-jerk reactions, problem, reaction, solution thing, and really start reaching out and contacting other people. As I gotta check out this green book. This is very interesting, and I would think that it's probably Mr. Gaddafi may be a prophet and may have some pearls of wisdom to pass on to all of us. Thank you, friends. Have a great day.